The Everything series with me, your British boy. Last week it was off week for the series for a tutorial. This week it's back on, and not only is it back on, but it's getting vibey in here. Today's episode is by far the most vibey episode of this entire series. Vibrations, the brand new complex mechanic coming to the game in 1.19. From mechanics to individual values to survival uses, there's a lot to know about this stuff. It's all right here. If we're going to talk all about vibrations today, then there is one spot that we must start, the definition. Vibrations are admittedly a little bit confusing. If you were to say a vibration is a movement, well, yes, but also no. The definition of vibration is a little bit more complex than that. I'm defining a vibration as something that causes a change in your world. You see this candle over there? That wick on the candle is kind of moving, at least it looks like it, but no vibrations. You see me right over here? I jumped. That caused a change in the world. That's a vibration. So a vibration, this is something that causes a change in your world. Alright, still a little bit confusing, but it's a start. Well, hey Waddles, that's great, that's really cool. Can I see a vibration? Can my pet ally feel a vibration too? No. Unfortunately, me, you, the ally, we all have something in common. None of us have the intelligence required to be able to sense a vibration. We're gonna need something else. I'm gonna be honest, it would be a literal war crime if I didn't talk about Sculk Sensors in the vibration episode, because vibrations are directly tied to these things. Today's episode is not on the Sculk Sensor or the other moving thing that senses vibrations, but let's talk about it a little bit. A Sculk Sensor. The Sculk Sensor was a block added to the game in Minecraft 1.17. It's finally making it to survival mode in 1.19. If you're looking for a Sculk Sensor, head to the deep dark biome, because Sculk Sensors generate all over this place. Once you've successfully made your way over to the deep dark biome and located a Sculk Sensor, you're gonna need a tool with the Silk Touch enchantment and maybe even a smashing name too. This is proper good. Well, anyways, the Sculk Sensor, mine it with a Silk Touch tool and you'll be able to pick it up. If you mine it without Silk Touch, you get experience. Alright, cool. How does the Sculk Sensor work? Well, I have no clue. I don't think anybody does. This thing is literally an alien. So yeah, Sculk Sensors are weird, like they're really strange. And basically they sense vibrations somehow and convert those vibrations into a redstone signal. So I'm moving around. The Sculk Sensor has no eyes, but somehow it's sensing my vibrations. It's taking those vibrations and turning them into a redstone signal, therefore powering the lamp. Expand, 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 expand. Obviously, with mechanics like this, the Sculk Sensor is insanely useful. You could have the Sculk Sensor power redstone. You could have the Sculk Sensor play a song. You could have the Sculk Sensor dispense dispensers. You could even have the Sculk Sensor power a piston. This thing is insane. The Sculk Sensor does have some limitations though. You won't be able to just move around like 20 blocks away and the Sculk Sensor sees you. You're going to have to be within 9 blocks for the Sculk Sensor to be able to pick you up. I'm no scientist, but I've been doing a little bit of testing. Here we have a wool circle. Anywhere outside of the wool circle is too far away from the Sculk Sensor for it to detect. If I'm on top of the wool circle, even though it's built out of wool, it wouldn't be able to hear me. If I built this out of any other block, it's still too far. Inside of the circle though, the Sculk Sensor can all of a sudden pick me up. And it seems like that radius is going to be a spherical radius as well. I'm all the way up here and it can't hear me, but if I was 1 block lower and started jumping, the Sculk Sensor would absolutely be able to hear me up here. Kind of interesting. These things do go hand in hand though. If you'd like the next episode of the Everything series to be on Sculk Sensors, smash like on this video. And if this video passes, let's say 7,000 likes, then Sculk Sensor will be the next episode. Good luck, good luck. So again, a movement, it's not necessarily a vibration. A vibration is probably better defined as something that causes a change in your world. There are lots of things in the game that can cause a change in your world. Placing a block, jumping up and down, even just walking around. The different vibrations that exist in the game have different values. Or, in other words, the different vibrations, they have different signal strengths. If I hook a comparator up to a Sculk Sensor, we can see those strengths in game. Have you found yourself alone, sad, working on a redstone contraption and trying to sort signals? Or maybe you're not alone and you're very happy and you just want to see the different values. If either of those cases are you, this next portion of the video is the portion for you. The different vibrations and all of their strength values as of 1.19. The weakest type of vibration is a step. That's going to have a signal strength of 1. A step is either the player or an entity walking around in your world. But not every entity steps. Some flap, like the bat. If the Sculk Sensor hears a bat flapping, you'll get a signal strength of 2. Swimming, it is fun. It's even more fun when you swim near a Sculk Sensor and the Sculk Sensor detects you. When it does that, you'll get a signal strength of 3. I don't have one in my survival world, but I'm told elytra are very fun. Even more exciting about the elytra, gliding with the elytra. Gliding with an elytra next to a Sculk Sensor will cause a redstone signal of 4. Hitting the ground, no matter the height of the fall, will always cause a redstone signal of 5. A newer Sculk Sensor detection has to do with teleportation. This was added in 1.19 pre-release 2. The Sculk Sensor will be able to detect when someone or something teleports over to it. This could be me teleporting over to the Sculk Sensor, it could be an Enderman, or it could be a Shulker teleporting. That's meant to emit a redstone signal of 5, but for some reason, as you just saw there, it emitted something completely different. With our signal strength 5 tier, that's where things start to get a little bit more complex. Obviously, that's the first tier with more than one thing that can cause a signal strength of 5. From this point on, that's going to be pretty much the same thing for every other tier. There's more than one action that can cause the signal strengths. Let's talk about the 6s. The first thing, or things, that cause a signal strength of 6 have to do with changing a block. So adding a book to a lectern, adding a candle to a cake, taking candles and unlighting those candles, putting a flower inside of a pot, ringing a bell, and unlighting or lighting a campfire. All signal strength 6. Now this whole block interaction category, this is a really big one. I would highly recommend you trial and error a little bit, just experiment, because there are a lot of different block interactions. For example, another one would be adding a music disc to a jukebox. That's signal strength 6 as well. Waxing a copper block, that's an interaction, and stripping a log, that is also an interaction. All of these interactions will always give a signal strength of 6. A similar thing is going to go for some of the other categories that we're talking about as well. Just because I don't explicitly say it, if it's something that seems like it would fit inside of a category, a little bit of trial and error will most likely confirm that it does indeed fit inside of that category. Minecart moving, also signal strength 6. But it's bugged, and it has been bugged for like the longest time. Right now, that's actually going to emit a signal strength of 1. A splash also has a signal strength of 6. And finally, for the 6s, your precious dog, it ended up going in water and getting wet, and it's now shaking off. Well, that shake, it's a 6. Finishing drinking a potion has a signal strength of 7. Not starting, though. Priming a fuse, like lighting TNT or having a creeper start to explode, has a signal strength of 7. Shooting a projectile, that's also 7. Let's move on to the 8s. First off, interacting with entities, like giving a dog some food after it took some damage, signal strength of 8, or Iron Golem, maybe it took a little bit of damage, heal it up, signal strength of 8. Feeding most other mobs also is going to be 8, giving Panda some food, that's also an 8, and Zombie Villager, give it the golden apple, additionally, an 8. Any type of eating, whether it's you eating something in hand like a steak, whether it's you eating a cake on the ground, whether it's a panda eating bamboo that you just gave it, well, any type of eating, 8. When you shoot a projectile, there's a signal strength of 7. When that projectile lands, there's a signal strength of 8. And when you damage an entity, that's also 8. 9. Equipping something emits a signal strength of 9. Shearing anything, whether it's a sheep, a vine, disarming a trap. Yeah, anytime you use shears, 9. And finally, the Ravager. When the Ravager roars, so do the roar, please do the roar. No, just do the roar. When the Ravager does the roar, it's 9, 2. Closing something, like a door, trap door, or fence gate, emits a redstone signal of 10. So does deactivating something, like a lever, pressure plate, button, or tripwire. Detaching a tripwire, 10. And finally, dispense fail, 10. Closing a door gives you 10, opening a door gives you 11. Activating a lever, a button, a pressure plate, anything like that, will also give you 11. Third and final 11, attaching a tripwire. If you have a block and you place it down, a Sculk Sensor will see that and give you a redstone signal of 12. Other things that'll also give you 12, using a flint and steel to make fire, using a fire charge to light a candle, or placing powder snow down. When any entity is spawned in, like for example, placing a painting, or actually properly spawning an entity in with like a spawn egg, 12. Speaking of placing, fluids count too. You place a fluid, you'll also get a signal strength of 12. Now this whole liquid place thing also happens inside of a cauldron. When it's snowing and the cauldron fills up a little bit, that's a liquid place. When you're bored, so bored, and you're just dumping water inside of the cauldron, a liquid place. Breaking a block, no matter what type of block it is or what tool you use, will always give you signal strength 13. Entity die, oh that's unlucky, also 13. And finally, fluid pickup, whether it's powder, snow, water, lava, honey inside of a bottle, 13. Item interact finish, as long as you're not sneaking, 14. Now the signal will always be detected as soon as you finish interacting with an item, not when you start. So when I start to charge the bow, nothing, but as soon as I let go, even if I only charge it a little, 14. That one is the newest change in this video. It was implemented in 1.19 pre-release 3. Closing any container in the game, chest, trap chest, ender chest, barrel, shulker box, or actually even the shulker, causes signal strength 14 too. Piston contract, signal strength 14. But what about when you open any of those containers, like initially? Is that different? Yes, it is. Signal strength 15. Maybe you find yourself on that late game grind and next to a Sculk Sensor with a comparator for some reason, and you throw an Eye of Ender, signal strength 15 is what it seems like you're gonna get. Not gonna do it, you'll have to trust me, but any explosion will cause a signal strength of 15. Lightning striking a rod, also 15. And finally, piston extending, that is 15. So those are all the current vibrations and their signal strength values. Good luck sorting. Okay, cool. So what's not a vibration then?
Hi,
well,
everybody.
An example of something that isn't is a spin. If I'm standing in one spot spinning around,
if you're watching this right now,
never
the
know.
wild
I don't
update
even
is
have to
right
be
around the
crouching.
corner.
Doesn't
If
matter.
you're watching this in the
Also,
future,
moving your
then
head
the wild
around,
update is
moving up and
already
out,
here.
That also
No
doesn't
matter
matter.
what,
Punching
this moment
doesn't
is the best
matter
moment
at
to
all
learn more
either
about the
until you
Warden.
start breaking
In
things.
this week's Everything Series
But
episode,
if
it's all about the
survival,
Warden.
just punching
From
a
the
block,
mechanics
or
behind
even
this thing
trying
to
to break a
surviving
block,
the Warden to
it's
a
not
little
a
bit of fun
vibration
facts.
until I
It's all
actually break
right
the
here.
block.
If you
Even though
wouldn't
if you
mind, real
listen
quick, drop a
closely,
like,
there is
and
noise.
let's go.
Look at the smoke. It is
The
definitely
Warden,
moving,
the
and the fire
glorious, the
itself
wonderful,
absolutely
the Warden.
moving too.
The Warden
no
is a brand
vibration
new
there,
mob added
and
to
a
the
mob
game
simply
in
making a
Minecraft
noise, like a
1.19.
cat
The
crying,
Warden,
or literally any
apparently
mob
it's
making its
a little bit
noise.
shy.
That is
There we go,
also
that's a little
not a
bit better.
vibration.
The Warden was
Obviously,
first shown
there's
off
gonna be a
at
lot more
Minecraft
things in
Live
the game that don't count as
2020,
vibrations,
about 2
but those
years
are just
ago
a couple categories. And we've done it. We've reached Everything Series intermission. Let's take a quick second to make sure everybody is subscribed. All right, cool. And if you're not, that was the perfect second to change it. Okay, resume. Wool occlusion is another term that goes hand in hand with a vibration or carpets to occlude or basically cut out the vibration. It's pretty cool. All right, so check this out. Right here, no tricks involved. This is a Sculk Sensor. I'm moving around on this concrete block right here, and the Sculk Sensor can clearly hear me. If I move back onto the wool, though, and then start moving around, no sneaking or anything, just moving on the wool, it can't hear me anymore. If I move over here and jump and land, it still can't hear me. That's pretty cool. If I break this block, same thing. It can't hear me. Placing it, it can't hear me. The wool is in the way of the Sculk Sensor and basically makes the Sculk Sensor deaf. Same thing is going to happen over here. If I move over here and open this thing and start taking things, it doesn't see me. So that's pretty cool. What if I'm just standing here on the wool, but in front of the Sculk Sensor, and I charge this up? Well, it can hear me because I'm not sneaking or anything like that, but if I shoot this projectile and it lands on that, it won't hear it either. The wool deadens the sound. And it's not just moving around on top of or behind wool. It's everything to do with wool too. If I break the wool block right there and then go pick it up and then place the wool back down, it can't hear that. Same with carpet. I can move around on top of carpet and the Sculk Sensor won't hear me no matter how close I am to this thing. This is a big mechanic inside of the ancient city where there is tons of wool all over the place, and it's also a big mechanic when it comes to contraptions. But hold up on the contraptions for a second. We'll come back to that in a minute. There are a lot of different potential uses and ways that wool occlusion comes into play, but this is actually not the only way to deaden a vibration. Check this out. I'm moving around and I'm not on the wool, and the Sculk Sensor can't hear me. If you're sneaking around, the Sculk Sensor will never be able to hear you. That includes jumping. I'm jumping right now, and I'm still sneaking, and the Sculk Sensor isn't hearing me. Now I'm sneaking, still not on the wool. That can't hear me either. That lands on the wool, can't hear me. If I'm sneaking right here and eating, the Sculk Sensor also can't hear me. That's pretty interesting. Long story short, if you're trying to avoid being detected by a Sculk Sensor, you have 3 options. Option number 1, wool. Option number 2, carpet. Option number 3, sneak. Sneak and sneak. Little bonus survival trick that I thought I'd throw in here for you. 1.19 drops and you're inside of the ancient city trying to take this thing out. But bad situation right here. Multiple sensors, a couple shriekers. You don't want the Warden. Here's a potential route you could go. You could place wool, 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 and then finally wool on top of this thing, fully cut it off. That's basically safe. You can move around now, and then you can move over to this next one and do the same thing. You could theoretically use wool to completely cut these things off from the outside world. Just definitely don't forget that if you have something like this happening right here, it can still hear you through that block, so you're going to need to fully surround that too. Now I can move around over here, and I don't have to worry about it. If you have a single sensor in an area though, don't waste the wool, just dig the sensor out. This comes in handy when you have more than one sensor nearby. There's a mob that can sense vibrations too. This mob, I have a pretty decent feeling. Good guess that you might have heard about this mob before. Of course, the big, the bad, the not very nice, the Warden. The Warden works entirely off of vibrations. Now, the different vibration values, they don't really matter to the Warden. If the Warden hears something, the Warden is mad. Then the Warden moves over to it, and the Warden takes it out. Usually, that thing is going to be you, but unfortunately, that thing could potentially be other things too. Like the bat. Now, some similar mechanics come into play here. In survival, if you're sneaking around near the Warden, it won't be able to hear you. As soon as you stop sneaking, though, and you walk around, it's not good. It'll be able to find you. The Warden is a super complex mob. It'll get its own episode one day, but basically with the Warden, you have this whole smelling mechanic too, so even if you're perfectly still, causing 0 vibrations, well, eventually the Warden will smell you, and will find you, and, unfortunately, will de-life you. To wrap up this week's episode on vibrations, let's talk survival uses. When it comes to survival uses, oh boy, there are so many. Really, something as complex as vibrations is kind of comparable to just redstone dust in general. Your imagination is the limit. If you can think of something within the confines of the game, and of course you have the necessary skills and knowledge to pull that off, then you can do it. The comparator strength signal sorting thing, that's probably going to be pretty useful to you. I'd recommend starting there. If you're looking for somewhere to start with vibrations though, I would recommend a door. A simple door. This is a 2x2 door, no buttons, it's super clean. All I need to do is walk up to the door opens for me, and then I'm inside. On this design, I'm putting wool in the entrance so the Sculk Sensor sitting down below the floor right here doesn't hear the pistons and repeatedly fire the circuit. Down below the circuit, it's insanely simple. A little bit of redstone and a torch going over to some pistons. Here's another potential use for vibrations. This one gets a little bit more complex. So imagine this. Here I am on my server, and this is my item storage room. Or actually, no, it's not. I lied. This is somebody else's room. Look at this. A diamond block right there, a button right there. Don't press that. A chest, and then armor right there. That's pretty sweet. I really hope there's not some kind of Sculk Sensor behind here, because I like that diamond block. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my base, get my pickaxe, and look, I'm back, and that block's still here. That's mine now. I'm going to keep that. But, you know what, actually, maybe not. I'm just going to put that back. How about inside of this chest? Anything here? Ah, man, nothing. It must be a decoy. Pressing this would be too obvious, and the armor? I already have my own armor. I don't need it. Look how good the skin is. Time change role switch. I'm now the owner of this base. I come back to the server, and I come back over to my base. Wow, look at my base. It's good as new. Nobody messed with a single thing. That's great. But just in case I was unsure, look at this. Sneaky. A little bit of wall occlusion going on right here because I only want to sense this area right there and a Sculk Sensor. What's this? A comparator and a redstone line that runs over to... Oh no. What is this? Something has gone mad at my base. If my eyes do not deceive me and my Sculk Sensor does not lie, which it never does, it looks like somebody has been here. Somebody considered taking that block. They mined it and then apparently put it back, so that's good. And somebody definitely was looking through the chests. Over here, this is a placeholder one. You can put any other signal in here and sort the signals, maybe a little bit better. Signal sorting. This is a very rudimentary, beginner way to set this thing up. You could definitely do it a little bit better than I did right here. But signal sorting, detecting what is going on, maybe at your base while you're away. And more, and more, and more. I want to put a lot of emphasis on that because, really, it's all up to you. What are you going to do with vibrations? Drop one use down in the comments below. And make that use be your biggest, coolest sounding use because we've made it to the end of the video. It's your time to flex. Vibrations are one of the most complex mechanics to come to the game in years, and now, after this quick video, you understand it all perfectly, flawlessly, and if not, well, you could watch the video again. If anything major ends up changing with the vibrations in the coming months, I'll make sure to update a pinned comment down below. If it's major, I'll make a new guide. Thank you all so much for watching this video. You're the best, you're the best. What episode would you like to see next? Just smash like and subscribe for more. Inside of this wonderful world here, I've been showcasing other things inside of the Everything series. The playlist is on the end card. Check it out. And then, go have a good day. It's me, Waddles, your boy. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.